some students ask me whether they can form group or join another tutorial group and form group there. Okay, I guess I would leave the decision to the tutors whether they want to accept. But I think if there's a small movement or 1 or 2 students, it's easier to handle. But if you have large movement, okay, and all go to one, then the tutor may not be able to handle, and also there may not be enough seats. Okay, so you can, I think the best thing is before you go there, you email your tutor and CC me. I think that would be best, and we'll try to accommodate you. Okay, so it's still, at the end, it depends on whether the tutor can handle like larger number of students in the new setting. Okay, so let's get to our main topic, testing. Okay, I used to work for IBM in Canada, and my last job there was a development analyst on the C compiler team. So, and I was in the front end team. You can think of a compiler has 2 parts, the front end and the back end. The front end will read in it. We have the word called parse, P-A-R-S-E. The compiler parse the program and determine if the program is syntactically correct, and then generate intermediate code. And this is the job of the front end. And then the back end component of a compiler would try to optimize the intermediate code for faster speed or smaller footprint, smaller space. And then, so we have 2 teams of people on the compiler, big team. And also the 3rd team would do testing. Back then, originally, I cannot imagine myself as a tester, because back then I was not as lucky as you have Oliver as my professor to teach me about automated testing. But of course, back then maybe automated testing was very uncommon. So I did not know that as a tester you can be writing programs too, okay? And you can use your programming skills. So back then I have very little respect originally, but after working with our testing team, I start to have respect for them. In fact, just last year, I have people, employer who come to me and said they want to hire people who can do automated testing, so who can write code to test the program that they give to the user. So this is what we are going to show you. So now you should have more respect for tester. So testers are not limited to those people who do exploratory testing, that is just randomly using some software to see if it breaks. Okay, you can do things, you can do testing systematically, have some methodology. You apply your methodology in an orderly manner, and with small number of test cases, you can try to be as thorough as possible to test it. So and the word regression test means after you update software, you want to repeat the test to make sure that in the process of software maintenance, you did not introduce new bug. It's very easy. When you modify a program, you add a new feature, but you accidentally you introduce a bug that was not there before. So that is something we want to avoid. So what we're going to learn this week is learn to write test cases. And also we'll understand some terminology, black box, white box, or functional, structural, okay? And we'll learn a few very basic testing techniques. Next week we'll learn some more advanced ones, but this week we'll learn something very simple. Equivalence testings, boundary testing, path testing, state-based testing, and coverage testing. And in the lab, okay, so there might be, I have some, okay, I have some typo here. I would fix this. I forgot to update this, but you will learn to apply equivalence testing and coverage testing. Okay, so this is what you do. Not mutation testing, pairwise testing is probably to be covered next week. Okay, so you'll actually perform. You'll be doing practical work, equivalence testing, boundary testing, and coverage testing. So 3 out of the 5 basic techniques. So I had some mistakes there. And we'll do it in Python. Any one of you know Python already? Nobody, great. Okay, so you learn, isn't it nice things? You come to learn software engineering, and I throw in the free stuff. So the free stuff now is Python. It's just like you go to a sports store, buy a pair of running shoes, and they give you the t-shirt for free. Isn't it nice? Okay, so this is what, but don't worry, I'll keep the Python content very simple, okay? And hopefully you'll learn to like it as much as I do. And it's going to be helpful, like on your CV or in your future work. And we all know that 2 of the hottest topics recently in the computing field is big data and machine learning. And actually in both areas, Python has probably the best libraries out there. So if you want to do productive work in machine learning and big data, there's a good chance that Python will be a very good language. But we won't give you a complete coverage of Python, but perhaps just enough to get you familiar with it. Okay, so this is the template of a test case. A test case, with a test case, we try to describe what we are going to test. So we state the purpose, the precondition, what input we would give, and what output we expect, and what post-condition. Who wrote this test case, and when did he do it? Okay, and then after running the test, we have actual output and we have actual post-condition. So of course, we can have different fields for the test case template. One field that we consider is date of test, because we may rerun the test many times, as in regression testing. So we would repeat the testing many times, and if we keep this information, then we know which version the test work, which version it doesn't work, and so on. So this is an actual example. For example, we have a function, sum function, okay, SUM, sum, and we want to sum up a list of number, okay. So maybe our purpose is to add the numbers in a short list, and the precondition is positive integers. If the input looks like this, so 1 plus 4 is 5, 5 plus 9, expected output should be 14. Another typo, okay? See, sometimes teacher purposely put typos on the slides to make sure that the students are awake. So I heard some laughs, so I know you are awake, okay? So good. Had some mistakes. So this is a test case example. So now, unit testing. A unit is a component in a software. There can be many components in a software. In OO, a class would be a component. Okay. In other programming languages, a function would be a component. Okay. And unit testing is probably the first testing you would do. Is done before integration testing. Okay. And unit testing is also a very good candidate for automation. Okay. And usually, if a programmer wrote a component, he would also write the unit test code. And is relatively easy, okay, because you don't need to have full knowledge of the entire system. And also you don't need to have other components ready. You're only testing one component, so you just need that component to be ready. Okay, and there is one agile methodology called test-driven development. They require programmers to write the unit test before they write the application to deliver that functionality. Okay, so there are many unit testing tools out there. Probably the oldest one, at least the oldest one that I know of, is Smalltalk. Smalltalk is the great grandfather of OO language. Although there's one OO language even older than that, is called Simula. Okay, is for simulation, but Simula is for simulation. For example, simulating physical world. But Smalltalk is the first OO language for general purpose. Okay, and the people who wrote Smalltalk's programs or to promote Smalltalk programming were very smart people, and they have come up with unit testing tool. And it's quite possible that the idea of unit testing come from there too. And then people apply the same idea to JUnit, PHP unit, CPP unit, and so on. And I only show one example in each case, but actually each language, probably you can easily find 2 or 3 different unit testing framework. Okay, here, sometimes as a student, you have a question. You wonder, should I raise my hand to ask? And some of you may be afraid that if I ask a very dumb question, then people would look at me as this is a very dumb guy or girl. Anyone has that worry before? 驚唔驚㗎？我都驚喎，你哋唔驚嘅 ？Okay, even sometimes I would worry being looked at as a very dumb, stupid person. So I suppose some of you would be similar, right? So, but my professor used to tell me that the only dumb questions is the one that was never asked, okay? In fact, if you have a question, there is a good chance that 1/3 of the other people have a similar question. So if you raise your hand, ask that question, you are doing a favor to all those 1/3 of the students. And also, you break the boring tone of just one person talking out there for half an hour, 2 hours, okay? Because now, by asking a question, you are making this class more interactive. So feel free to raise your hand. Okay. Okay, so let's try to look at this function. This is our first Python function. And this function defined the function named find grade, given an input parameter score. And if the score is greater than or equal to 80, then the grade is 8. And if it is greater than or equal to 70, the grade is B, and so on. And at the end, return the grade. That is a very simple Python function, and we're going to test it. Okay, we're going to write some code to test it, and you will notice Python. One thing is that the keyword def means define function. Okay, we don't need to declare the type of a variable, because from the context the compiler would know what value it should have, right? Based on the runtime or based on how it's used, the compiler would know. And there's a colon right here, okay, to mean that this is the end of this. And in Java or in C, we use curly braces. 嗰個彎彎地嘅東西 okay, curly braces to enclose a block of code. But in Python, you use indentation, okay, and the standard is to indent 4 character spaces, okay. Even though you can indent a different one, but you want to be consistent. Okay, sorry. Here. And this # is Python's way to add a one-line comment. But this one has a very special meaning. This one is a directive to tell the operating system that if someone tried to run this program, okay, use the Python version 3 in this place. So this line is not for the compiler to read. This is for the OS. In fact, if any one of you have done Perl programming and CGI, 有冇聽過 CGI? Have you heard of CGI? Common Gateway Interface is also the grandfather of web server programming. Okay, back then I think they also have something like that. Okay, very similar. Anyway, so we have a program like this now. So let's write some test cases for find grade. So if maybe we want to write a test to check if the grade is calculated correctly for A. So if the input is 93, and then the expected output would be A. And any post condition, well, since we really have no side effect, if it's an database operation, then we may have a post condition of updating our record in the database. Okay, but here we have nil. Okay, so and test case 2. Test case 2, 78. If that's the input, according to what we want to get a B. So you give a mark, and then it converted to correct grade. So these are 2 test cases. Okay, and let's write our very first Python program to do those two test cases. Okay. First, we have this line to say where to find it, find the right version of Python 3. And why do we have this? Well, maybe your computer has installed Python 3.4, Python 3.5, and so on, and you may want to use a very specific version of the Python. So each different version may be in a different directory. Okay, so you use this to tell people that this program will work correctly using this version of Python. And this is the name of the unit testing framework that comes standard with Python. So we import unit test. And we have another syntax for import. This import allows you to specify a module, okay? So this is a module name, unit test, and grade is a module name. But we import only a very specific function, okay? If we do this, then we can use this imported function without qualification. If we don't do that, we may need to have a qualified name, a qualified that has both the module name and the function name. But if we do this, we will only need to call the function name. So this, we create a class, test or grades, inherit from unit test case. Okay, so for example, unit here, we use this syntax to import the unit test module. So if we want to use the test case in the unit test or the main function in the unit test, we need to qualify it with the module name. But for find grade, we use this syntax. Okay, then we don't need to do grade dot find grade. Okay, so we have created this testing suite, and inside it we created two functions. So this is test A is to test whether score 93, okay, will give A. A very common one is function to use is assert equal. This is self. That means the assert equal function was inherited from unit test. So unit test provide assert equal. So I can use self.assert equal. And if this is equal, great, successful. But if it is not equal, then I will get a message saying that 93 should get A. So maybe if 93 give me a B, B is not equal to A, then when you run the test, it will print this message out. But if these two are equal, then you will not see this message printed, okay, when you run test. And test B is very similar. We try to compare the result of the first two arguments. Okay, if the first two arguments are the same, are the equal, then we say we are successful with our test. If they're not equal, then we fail, and we print this message, okay, to give the user to tell the user that this is where it failed. Okay, so we can give any message we want. For example, we can say test A failed in here, and then here we can say test B failed. Okay, and what this means, if underscore underscore name underscore equals main, that means if someone is running this program, okay, I will run this. If someone is running this program from the Unix command line, I will run this. But if someone just import it, then it won't be run. So that means, so you can think of this as something like the main function, okay? Hopefully, when we test run it later, we will better understand. But let's go to some terminology. Test case just documents what the system should behave in one particular case. A test suite is a collection of test cases. A test script is testing procedure, which can be manual or it could be automatic. The word Oracle, in software engineering, is used to refer as the authority of the behavior. So all your test cases are based on the Oracle. For example, if there are two approaches people use to specify the Oracle. In the old days, the reference manual is the most common Oracle. For example, in C programming language, a committee created a C reference manual, and in the manual they explain what is the meaning of each word in the program and what is allowed, what is not allowed, and they describe it in a very lengthy document, several pages long for C programming language. So remember I told you the day that I was a programmer on C compiler team, and the testing team can give me trouble and say this is a bug, and then we will have to look at the manual and see whether it is actually a bug. Sometimes we'll go through the argument, okay, but lots of time they won, okay, then I have to go fix the program. And this is the old-fashioned way, but nowadays Oracle could have another shape. For example, we may heard of a programming language called Python. Ruby. But actually, it's the same with Python. The people who design Ruby or the people who design Python, maybe they are not very good at writing, or maybe they think, why don't I actually create a working interpreter or compiler so that everyone else, if they want to know what Ruby or Python should behave, they can just run my compiler, and then that will define what the language will behave. Okay, and Matz is a Japanese guy. He created the Ruby language, and he used an interpreter to define the language. And you may think, well, if you already have a working Ruby programming language as a definition created by the inventor, is there any need to create additional Ruby interpreter? Well, maybe you want to take it to a new hardware platform. Okay, maybe you think Maths Ruby interpreter is okay, but maybe you think it's not fast enough. So you want to create an interpreter that perform exactly the same, but much faster. In that case, you may write your new Ruby interpreter, and you could use Maths MRI as the Oracle. So Oracle is the authority of what is the correct behavior of a piece of software. Okay, so this shows for each product we may have one or more test suites, and each test suite has one or more tests. Oh, this is just another template of a test case. Black box testing, white box testing are two commonly used names. Black box means you try to design tests by thinking about the function of that software. So that means you really don't care how the program was written internally, okay? But white box testing, you assume some knowledge of inside the program you're going to test. So they have different advantages, okay? But I'll let you read the detailed notes to see.